Hello, my name is Chantal Sundaram. I'm a member of the committee to defend Mohamed Harkat. And I'm here today to introduce some champions of human rights who are here to speak on his behalf on International Human Rights Day. We are also marking the 14th anniversary of Mohamed Harkat's arrest under a security certificate. Mohamed Harkat has lived in Canada for 21 years. There is wide support against his deportation to certain torture in Algeria and for his right to stay in Canada. There's support for this campaign from all major unions in Canada, all major civil liberties associations, Amnesty International, who you'll hear from today, Stephen Lewis, Naomi Klein, and Avi Lewis, and a number of former torture survivors. Security agencies, including CSIS and the RCMP, concede that Mr. Harkat has never committed any act of violence nor violated any law. Canada has recently been revealed to have been more directly involved in sending Canadian citizens to torture than was previously thought. The cases of Abdullah Almalki, Ahmad El Maat, Muayyed Nuruddin, and Maher Arar show that Canada's security processes are seriously flawed, and security certificates are no exception. Our committee has a statement against security certificates that has been signed by many Canadians. And we are here today on International Human Rights Day to talk about why the security system that has kept Mohamed Harkat from being able to meet the case against him with secret evidence and a secret trial is fundamentally unjust. I'm going to introduce three speakers here today who are going to talk in more detail about this injustice. The first is Alex Neve, Secretary General of Amnesty International. The next is Tim McSorley, National Coordinator of the International Civil Liberties Monitoring Group. And finally, Sophie Harkat, wife of Mohamed Harkat and activist for civil liberties. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Alex Neve. Je suis secrétaire général d'Amnesty International Canada. The debate about national security and human rights, a false debate, rages on. And we in Canada now are in the midst of a major public consultation about Canada's national security framework. That is, of course, a very welcome development. It is long overdue. It was needed well before last year's C-51 reforms added a further litany of serious human rights concerns to our national security laws. The consultation should lead to proposals for law reform sometime next year, but that does not mean action to uphold human rights and rectify human rights violations associated with our country's national security laws, policies, and practices should be put on hold in the meantime. That would be unconscionable, but that appears to be exactly what is happening. Tomorrow is International Human Rights Day. Tomorrow also marks the 14th anniversary of the day that Mohamed Harkat was arrested on an immigration security certificate, beginning a long odyssey of injustice through a Kafkaesque legal process that denies him a real opportunity to defend himself and has left him facing the agony of a potential deportation to torture for 14 long years now. It is an anniversary that reminds us that United Nations human rights bodies have frequently called on Canada over the course of those 14 years and earlier to adopt reforms to ensure fair trials in immigration cases and to avoid complicity in torture on the national security front. We don't need to wait to live up to UN demands that we improve our human rights record in this area. In fact, there is no excuse for waiting. Mohamed Harkat has waited far too long already for an assurance of a fair process and an assurance that he will not be deported to torture. It is embarrassing how often the United Nations has pressed Canada to deal fairly with immigration security cases and to guarantee that no one will be returned to face torturers. Yet here we stand. And Mohamed Harkat is not alone. Abdullah Almalki, Ahmad El Maat, and Muayyed Nuruddin have also waited far too long already for an apology and redress following former Supreme Court of Canada Justice Frank Iacobucci's 2008 judicial inquiry report documenting the many ways that Canadian officials set them up for torture in Syria and, in Mr. El Maat's case, Egypt. 8 years ago, that report was released. The UN's Committee Against Torture impatiently called on Canada to provide these three men with justice over 4 years ago. Instead, they still face government lawyers in court. And here we stand. This Human Rights Day, Canada should do the right thing. End deportation proceedings against Mohamed Harkat, provide Abdullah Almalki, Ahmad El Maat, and Muayyed Nuruddin with fair and adequate compensation and a genuine apology for the terrible human rights violations that Canadian action made possible, and show Canadians that this government's promise to uphold human rights while protecting national security is a real promise. Thank you.
Good morning, bonjour. I apologize for Mo's absence, but I am happy to report that Mo is working this morning in a very friendly, supportive environment. Mo is very much appreciated and well liked by all of his colleagues. However, later today, he is seeing his psychiatrist because he suffers and is being treated for PTSD and depression due to the ongoing efforts from the Liberal government to send him back to Algeria based on secret allegations. Today marks 14 long years of injustice for my husband Mohamed Harkat and our family. That represents years of detention without charge, house arrest under the most severe bail conditions in Canadian history, several hearings over the years, being dehumanized, humiliated, and put to shame. Another year has passed where our lives have been on hold and we've been living under a dark cloud of deportation to torture. Mo has lived in Canada for 21 years and no other home. He is a Canadian at heart and has built a large network of family, friends, and supporters. Mo has been subjected to a secret hearing process of a security certificate and has never had a proper opportunity to challenge and refute the secret information that forms the basis of the case against him and which relies on destroyed original information and on a testimony of a protected secret informant who failed a lie detector test. Security agencies, including CSIS and our CMP, concede Mo has never committed any act of violence nor violated any law in Canada or anywhere in the world. All of his risk assessments have indicated he is low risk. Just recently, CSIS said they would not provide a new risk assessment for Mo's upcoming bail review. La SCRS et la GRC admettent que Mo n'a jamais commis d'acte de violence ou de crime au Canada ou ailleurs au monde. D'ailleurs, les services de renseignement ne veulent pas donner d'évaluation des risques pour la prochaine revision des conditions. Contrary to what CBSA had to say in their last danger assessment, Mo is a valuable and contributing member of the society, has a large circle of family and friends, and that want him to stay and be safe. I also take offense that CBSA thinks our marriage is of convenience and that I will be able to go on normally if Mo were to be deported. All of those statements are completely unfounded, biased, and demeaning. I'm here once again, and hopefully for the last time, to ask the Liberal government to do the right thing and drop the deportation proceedings against my husband and respect the convention. It's the right and only thing to do. 14 years is enough. We deserve our life back. Je suis ici aujourd'hui pour demander encore une fois et j'espère pour la dernière fois au gouvernement libéral de faire la bonne et seule chose, de respecter la Convention et de laisser tomber toutes les procédures de déportation contre mon mari. 14 ans, c'est assez. Nous voulons reprendre nos vies. I wish to end by thanking Alex, Tim, and the hundreds of groups and organizations, national unions, civil liberties associations across the country, the Justice for Mohamed Harkat Committee, our family and friends, and thousands of supporters across the country for their continued support and solidarity over the past 14 years. We feel stronger because of you all. Thank you for being there for us. And I would like to say a special thank you to Mr. Warren Ullman, who was a champion of human rights and very supportive for the Stop Secret Trial campaign. And I thank him for everything he's done for us. Merci à tous pour votre support et solidarité pendant ces 14 dernières années. Today, my heart and thoughts go out to all those others seeking justice in Canada and around the world, and I wish to express my solidarity. May justice prevail and may the truth come out. Thank you. Merci.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sophie, for inviting me to be here, and thank you, Alex, for your words. My name is Tim McSorley. I'm the National Coordinator with the International Civil Liberties Monitoring Group. The ICLMG joins the Harkat family and Amnesty International this morning in calling for the immediate end to deportation proceedings against Mohamed Harkat and redress for Ahmad El Maat, Abdullah Almalki, and Muayyed Nuruddin. On the eve of Human Rights Day, it is disappointing that we must stand here again and restate the same requests we have been making for more than a decade. On December 3rd, 2009, a majority of Parliament, including then MP Justin Trudeau and all Liberal MPs, voted in favor of a Public Safety Committee report that called for a formal apology and redress for Mr. El Maat, Almalki, and Nuruddin. And yet, another Human Rights Day is passing, where these three have not received an apology or redress or compensation for the horrific events that they lived through. Meanwhile, Mohamed Harkat still faces deportation to imprisonment and possibly torture, all without knowing the evidence against him. The Canadian government has failed to take the necessary steps and important steps to protect citizens from torture and to end the injustice of secret trials. We call on the government to ensure that those facing security certificates, including Mr. Harkat, have full knowledge of the evidence being presented against them. We also reiterate our call for the government to ultimately do away with security certificates altogether. Finally, these cases are part of a larger problem. As the federal government reviews Canada's national security laws and regulations, we ask that they do so with a focus on human rights and civil liberties. And we would urge them to start with a repeal of Bill C-51 and ministerial directives that still allow Canada to act on information garnered under torture. On the eve of International Human Rights Day, it's important, as Alex mentioned, that we not wait till the end of consultations that are currently happening, but that the government show that it's truly going to stand up for human rights and to take action now to lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Our speakers are happy to take any questions, if there are any.